doesn't the city belong to everybody? You know, shouldn't everyone be able to enjoy like the community that they live in? Or should they just look at nothing?
Hello out there, my name is Ethan Minsker. I'm from a group called the Antagonist Movement. We have the writer here, Tony Reyes. He's going to come up and we're going to do a little Q&A. Tony? First off, I'd like to give him another round of applause. There's a lot of work to go into this film, a lot of effort, obviously.
You only pay to watch it once.
Yeah, you don't get to watch it twice for free. I'd like to start off the first question of that. These kind of movies, clearly most filmmakers have no access to a lot of street artists. They're completely cut off. It's a dangerous thing to do. Our group does this typically, and we're very shy when it comes to cameras and people we don't know. So I'm assuming he has an inside thing with the community, and I'd like to hear a little about that.
Okay, yeah, the director, Alex Luster, worked with, you know, the bald-headed guy Gonzo that you saw in there. He runs that art gallery. And Give Up has shown there several times. He's had his posters up. He'll come during the day, post it all up, and then leave. And Alex was asked to do a short video for the web to show who this guy was. And so Alex did that. He shot a lot of what you see in it is from the original 2-minute short. And Alex had a lot of video, and he said, man, I'm really interested in this, you know, following these guys around. So Gonzo hooked us up with the other guys, the other 3 or 4 artists. And once we got in their circle, they kind of allowed us to be there with them. They knew we were gonna blur their face, we're never gonna use your name, we're not gonna, you know, call the cops, even though we had the cops in the movie. And so that gave us the access. And Shepard Fairey, which I don't know if a lot of you know who he is, he's kind of big in the art industry. We called him, told him what we were doing, and he let us fly out to LA and we interviewed him. So the access to him was a lot easier since he's not covering up his face. And that is Cutthroat's voice. We didn't modulate that, by the way. And so they were willing to do it. They trusted us, and I've become really good friends with them. These are guys I've never met before. I didn't know what wheat pasting was, never even heard of it. Seen it a little bit, but I didn't know what it was. So once they let us in, it was really cool to be a part of it, to follow them around.
I should probably take this off the thing. So the other part of these kind of films is that after making the films, sometimes the artists and then are harassed or pursued by the police. In New York City, we have artists who have done blogs and actually have used a real name, and then a day later are knocked by the police, the graffiti squad, and been arrested through that. I was wondering if there was, because you can identify some people through tattoos and things like that, if anybody's had any sort of, problems with the police or authorities after shooting, like anything negative from that after the film?
No, as a matter of fact, we did a sneak preview of the movie about 2 years ago now, and Adrian Garcia was there, the sheriff. He wasn't the sheriff when he interviewed him, but he became sheriff. He was there, we had both city council members there, and they were in the crowd with some of the artists. And I think, honestly, they feel like they have bigger things to do. Like, if we didn't stick a microphone in front of them, they'd go, I don't give a shit, you know. You saw the cars driving by, right? Over and over again. We had tons of footage of cop cars driving by because they don't really care. It is a complaint-driven cleanup. So if you see a Give Up poster you don't like, right next to a duel that you like, if you complain about Give Up, they'll tear that one down and leave the other one up. It's that, I don't know if you call it micromanagement, it's kind of screwed up, really, to be honest. So when she said Houston's really anti-Give Up, I think his is maybe more offensive to some, so that's why he gets those taken down. Where you put Mary, Kickstand Mary is the one that Duel did, where originally it had Mary on a bike, a BMX bike, but it's Mary, so, you know, Christians love that stuff, so nobody complains about that. So I think that's part of the reason. But after the film came out, no one's been harassed. Give Up has since moved on. He's in Austin now. And I think he's bombing there a little bit. But Cutthroat and Eyesore, they're still going strong. Duel's still going strong. And they're a little bit more famous now, but we haven't seen any more cop, activity. They haven't been harassing them or anything like that. So I think Houston's fairly laid back. Even though we're a red state, Houston's kind of a blue town, and they hit Montrose and the East End. I don't know if you know Houston, but it's a very liberal area, so people are pretty cool with it, though.
I personally have a few more questions, but I wanted to open up to the audience if anybody has a question they would like to ask. The gentleman over there in the hat that I was sitting with before, I have no relation to him at all.
I really liked how it wasn't just these guys making it and remixing it. I mean, that would have been enough on its own, but I like how you also got people that were affected by it. Like that woman Karen, I think was her name. And I was just curious, did you know Karen's story and how she was affected by it going into it, or is that something that developed as you guys?
That's actually a cool question because did you hear the question about where the other people came from other than the artist? Obviously, the Adrian and all those guys were easy to find. City council, when you go stick a mic in their face, they'll talk all day, so that wasn't a big deal. Karen, though, was an interesting thing. We had Alex brought me in 2010, I guess, maybe 2009. He had already shot almost the whole movie, and he handed me a box full of DVDs and said, "Go look at all this shit and come up with a story." So I said, okay, and after going through 55 hours of video, we put together a film. It was 40 minutes. It's something you can see on Discovery Channel that kind of shows you what these guys are like. We didn't have Alejandro and we didn't have Karen. And I told Alex, I said, look, dude, I have a first act. I don't have my second and third act. I don't have any kind of story arc. Well, Alex was at a gallery show, and I don't know whose piece was up, but there was a piece up. And you saw Alejandro as a character, man. And so he's sitting there looking at it, probably had a beer in his hand, and Alex said, he noticed he was looking at street art. He said, you know anything about street art? Or do you like street art or something like that? And Alejandro said, what the fuck do you know about street art? And Alex was like, well, I'm just asking because he goes, yeah, man, I love fucking street art. And then Alex realized, he goes, look, don't answer any more questions. He goes, are you willing to be in a film? And the guy said, yeah. So he said, okay, I'm gonna come to your house, and that's what you saw. We went to his house. We had no idea that he knew who Cutthroat was, Give Up, Duel. He has everybody's work that we had already shot. So that was my second act. I was like, shit, I got it. And funny thing is, Gonzo had met this guy at another event, and he had called Alex that night, said, man, I met this guy, and Alex goes, I did too. It's the same dude, you know? Now, I had my second act, everything was great. Still couldn't end the film. I didn't know what to do with it. It didn't do anything. We get a call, we didn't. Aerosol Warfare, the gallery got a call from Karen. Do you know where Give Up's gonna put his next piece of work? Do you know of any places that Give Up is at? And Gonzo said, yeah, I think he's on the corner of whatever. Go check it out. Gonzo calls Alex and says, man, I think this lady called in. She sounded like an old white lady. And she was interested in Give Up, which you don't get a lot of, you know. And so we called her and we said, hey, you know, we heard you're interested in Give Up. We had no idea what her story is at all. And we went and interviewed her on the street, which you saw her with the scarf on, and we showed her that one piece. She didn't know when we walked up, that's when she freaked out, oh my God, you know. And so she starts telling us a story, and Alex is videotaping it with one of those cameras, and I had a SLR camera on my chest kind of here. And so I'm watching her from here, asking her questions, and she starts talking about how she was sick, and I had no idea. And she starts telling us a story about how, which she didn't tell him the story, unfortunately, she had 4 pregnancies that didn't make it. That's why she said 4 pregnancies. The 4 of them are what drained her of her calcium. She has one kid, one 10-year-old boy, so he's like their miracle baby. Well, she had to make, when she started talking about that, I have to make a videotape of this kid I'm never gonna know. You know, me and Alex are like, you know, tears coming down and shit, you know, we're like, holy crap. So after that interview, we knew there was much more left. So we asked her, we begged her, she didn't want to do it, we begged her to go to her house and get the full story. So then I knew when I was sitting there videotaping her, we had our third act, that I was gonna get, because most people seeing this are not expecting Karen to show up. You know, we show her early in the film and you're like, what's that old lady doing? And so she really was really sweet. She opened her house to us. She actually canceled on us that last interview. And we were at the door. We wouldn't take her phone call. We kept knocking on the door. And she was wanting to cancel. She was embarrassed. But she was willing to go through with it. So, I mean, if it weren't for her, we wouldn't have a film. If it weren't for Alejandro, we wouldn't have a film. It would have been a boring-ass Discovery Channel, you know.
Was there another question? The gentleman in the back, another, oh, wait, him, because I know you, so you, sir, with the hat.
I thought you had a few other artists in there, but they weren't like as active as Cutthroat and Made in '84. He had 212 in there in the beginning. Was it hard to access him, or you didn't have much of him in there?
Did you guys hear that question?
212, we actually have a 4-minute video we did on him that went along with this. It was separate. It wasn't so much the access. I almost said his name. 212 is a really cool, I mean, these guys are like really sweet guys. Like, you would never know. I mean, Kevin was covered in tats, but I mean, you would never know that these guys have this shit on the street or they're criminals or whatever. But almost said his name again. 212 is not really wheat pasting to us, and we kind of started out with just the guys that basically screen one color and push it up. You know, his is very, like, he does these textures which you saw are just amazing. His things are like 10 layers deep, and he doesn't put up as much because it takes him so long to make them. So what you saw when we went out, when he did the Mary inside that wall, that's pretty much the only time we went out with him. And it wasn't because of access or anything like that, it's just that he doesn't do it as often. So even if we went on 2 or 3 things, it was the same piece and it just didn't look that different. That's basically what that was. And the other guys, Shreddy and Garo, and who else did we show? Tis. We had a lot of those guys, and we had already kind of identified that we were going to stick with these 4 people, but we wanted to show that there are others out there, and they gave us access too, which was really cool.
I was kind of, I think there was a point that I find in wheat-based art and a lot of street art that is overlooked, which is that the largest criminals in analyzing cities are not street artists. It's usually advertisers like Clear Channel and all these giant corporations which have a lot of money to pay for tickets. They have a lot of money, where they're not spending money in advertising budget, they can pay for tickets for their advertisements in this place. They did touch on the mayoral candidates running, the politicians that were putting their advertisements in the news spots. But what about the advertisers and reclaiming our visual culture as a society?
Yeah, we tried to get into that, and they're not going to talk to us. You know, they're not going to talk. And so us saying that they do that, they could say it was libel or whatever. Right, and they'll say it wasn't them. It was a contractor that did it or whatever. But you're right. I mean, a lot of the most obnoxious stuff that I see is advertisements for roofing or whatever the hell they want. They stick them up everywhere. Nobody complains. I mean, if they do, you know, they'll go clean it up. But it's not considered vandalism, though it's exactly the same thing. You're right, it's exactly the same thing. But I don't know I can't honestly say if the sheriff department goes after those guys the same way. I mean, yeah, I don't know, and to keep me from being libelous, I won't say they do, but I've never heard of it happening. You know, but they bring up graffiti artists all the time. I mean, graffiti artists are still the bad guys. Wheat pasters, they're kind of, you know, in the middle. But yeah, you're right. It's exactly the same thing, and we caught Michael Berry on that, and that's one of the funniest parts of the thing is when he's just like, oh shit, you know, yeah, it is. He had to be honest. He answered it right. It's true. They're not supposed to do that, but they do. And that bullshit that C.O. Bradford said that sometimes it's the competition. I have a hard time believing the competition gets your sign and goes sticks it somewhere illegally. People don't care if they're illegally. They're gonna vote. You know what I mean? It's just like it's BS. But yeah, and the street artists, Give Up said he wouldn't do it on free walls, and they've all pretty much said that it's the excitement of doing it. And I don't think the advertisers give a damn about the art of it or the fun of it or anything. They just want to get free space, and that's what they do. And Clear Channel owns Houston. I mean, they really do. They own all the billboards. They own all that stuff. So, but yet they cross the line occasionally, you know.
So it's been 2 years. I was wondering, is there something else happening with the film? And then where can, if anybody out there wants to spread the message, where can they find the film? And then third, what is the next project?
Okay, right now the film's kind of in limbo. We've not been very embraced by many festivals, whatever reason. When we get into the big ones, you know, this is a really low budget doc. We go up against $1 million documentaries, and we spent less than, Alex did, I didn't spend a dime, but he hasn't paid me yet, so. He probably spent less than 20 grand, 15 grand, something like that. And we're up against $250,000 films. So it's kind of hard for us to get out that way. But that's why we like the smaller festivals. I mean, plus I got to come back home here. And so we did the festival thing for a while, and now we're just probably going to stick it on some kind of distribution. Right now, we have it on Vimeo where you can rent it for a couple of bucks. But and I have DVDs we sell. But it's just, it was our first feature. It was kind of like, okay, we did it. We're done. We'll go out, we'll show it to the world, and hopefully people enjoy it. We haven't been overly embraced, I have to say, but we're okay with that. We're cool with that. Stickemupmovie.com is the website, and it's on Facebook /stickemupmovie.com. If you can share it, tell people you saw it, you loved it. We sell them online. I have some in the truck. I always have some with me. But yeah, we truly appreciate if you guys kind of spread the word on all your social media, or tell your brother, tell your cousin, I don't care. Just put it out there. And we really appreciate it. And I think it's really cool, festivals like this here in Victoria. You know, when I was living here, we didn't have anything like this. So I think it's really cool that it's finally coming around, and Anthony's doing a great job with it. And I think it's blowing up. I think it's blowing up everywhere because of technology. We were able to shoot a film where 20 years ago we couldn't have afforded the film, period. You know, we got these cameras now like that where you can do it for no money at all. Well, not no money, you borrow the camera. But so I just think it's a really great thing that you guys have down here, and if you can help us spread the word, we truly appreciate it.
What's the next project?
Next project, actually I have a short film showing, not this weekend, but next weekend at World Fest called Playdate, that we shot during the making of this. It's got nothing to do with it, but the kids got a Stick 'em Up shirt on, so that's kind of cool. But it's our kids, what they were doing while we were editing, kind of thing. But that's showing. Alex is working on another documentary about man, I wish I could remember the guy's name. Addicts, I think is his name. He does these big head busts, like the president heads in Houston. Have you seen those? Down the side, I think they're on 288 or something, I'm not sure where. And Alex is working on that. He wants to bring me in after they shoot. I'm the kind of guy that comes up and cleans up at the end. I don't want to do documentaries. I never wanted to do documentaries. I kind of got lassoed in, and now, since Alex and I work so well together, we're probably going to work on that. I have, I'm mainly a writer and a director, so usually I'm the director of fiction, though, not this stuff. And I've also finished a novel, and I'm working on the second one, so hopefully I'll just keep with the writing and just keep it going. Whether or not it'll be in film or not, I don't know. I mean, film's my first love, but man, it's hard to get it out there. You know, after this experience, it's like, wow, we thought we had a pretty good film, and we get snubbed by so many places. It's kind of discouraging, but we're going to keep plugging away. At least one documentary by next year, and I'll be shooting some more short films to get them out there too.
Is this on Amazon?
No, not on Amazon. The only place it's right now is at the StickEmUpMovie.com website, where we ship you the DVD ourselves. We did it all ourselves. We haven't really gotten into the distribution thing yet. Netflix may be the next part. It's really expensive to get on there, but that may be our next thing, and iTunes also. That'll be our next step. But right now, StickEmUpMovie.com or Vimeo is the place to get it.
One more round of applause. I'd say you can help the gentleman with Netflix. If you have Netflix, make a request for his film. That usually helps. I'm not sure how you do that. You used to be able to do it, but I'm sure there's a thing on there. Again, I'm Ethan Minster. I'm from the Antagonist Movement. I am too showing a film later at the Outside Park for, Under the Stars, called The Dolls of Lisbon, which is another film about subversive art, street art, wheat pasting stickers. That's why I think Anthony sent me. The next film is a hardcore film, right? On the Boston hardcore scene, all ages. What time is that at? In 15 minutes. So either stick around and see that, or please come to our film Under the Stars. We'd love to have somebody there.
I'm going to give you some of our fan tickets, too.
Free beer. Free beer at Under the Stars.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Are you serious? I'm serious.
There is free beer under the stars, so come and get wasted at my film.